I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, we're cutting through the diet industry's noise and getting real about health, fat loss, and the power of fasting. We're talking about an amazing book. It's called You're Fat, Stop Eating, The Power of Fasting and a New Way to Think About Body Fat. Fitness expert Oman Morales exposes the myths that have kept us stuck and reveals a simple, science-backed approach to reclaiming control over our bodies. If you're ready to break free from fad diets and discover the key to lasting transformation, this is a conversation and a book you won't want to miss. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today at Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. And be sure to download the Spotlight Network TV app, streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Aman, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you so much for having me.
I love the title of your book, You're Fat, Stop Eating. Um,
Yes.
is it that simple? That a lot of people, when it comes to drinking, I always say, just stop drinking.
Yeah, that's
If you're
part
an
of it.
alcoholic, just stop drinking. Oh, it's so much more than that. I mean, 5 years
Yeah.
ago, I decided not to drink anymore, and I just stopped drinking.
Yep.
So you can just stop.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about your book title and the message you're trying to convey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was interesting because you just look around the world today and it's, people are definitely growing and
Yeah,
not in
they're
the greatest way,
supersized.
right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing the repercussions of that in the medical world and everything that's going on. And it's kind of the title of the book. I think we get to the point where we need a wake up call. We need a shock. It's not just this, subtle thing anymore. We need to be like, hey, stop,
Yeah.
wake up,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's why I titled it that way, because it's the truth. And it's, it is what we need to do is just realize we don't need to intake as much food as we have been programmed to be intaking throughout. I mean, since we've been around. So humans weren't designed to eat like we eat today. And that's the biggest case right there.
And you can tell by obesity, you can tell by blood sugar issues, you can tell by heart disease, you can tell
Oh
by
yeah,
certain cancers. The
all of those
repercussions are
things.
great. You really do need to get your BMI where it should be,
Exactly.
or maybe even on the low side of that BMI scale. Fasting has been around for centuries. People think it's something new. It's not. Talk to us about the importance of fasting in your regime.
Absolutely. It basically fasting has been part of the human history since we stood up, right?
Exactly.
And so it is part of our life. One of my favorite references that I give in the book, it's from a documentary called The Perfect Human Diet. And they talk about, that if you look at the human history and nutrition in that history, um, and we put that human history on a football field, right? Most of the human history was involving, basically searching for food, hunting and gathering,
Right.
and forced fasting, right? And what they say is that it's on the 1 inch line. The 1 inch line is where everything started to shift. And
Yeah.
that's where the modern diet started to come in. And that's when we got the food pyramid, which is basically a great recipe to really hurt a lot of people and make
Yeah.
people very, very sick. And so that 1 inch line is what makes all the difference. And so what my book is basically is about is let's get back to the rest of it. The other
Yeah.
99 yards that we basically is that's how we were programmed to eat. And so that means just very much drastically decreasing the amount of food that we're putting into our bodies and really getting back to the roots of, how to be able to live the ultimate longevity lifestyle.
Yeah. There's so much conflicting information out there. So many
Yeah.
people saying whole grains are great for you. Yeah, the starches are bad, but not the whole grains. Other people saying you have to eat like a caveman, that you have to go on a carnivore diet. What is the answer? Is it somewhere in between?
I always go back for my answers. I go back to what were we eating when our nutritional systems got programmed, right? And we were not eating grains. That's just
Right.
a fact. We do because anything you have to process, we couldn't have eaten back then. And
Right.
so, we have to look at, okay, what is actually going on here? It's basically the stuff that we can kill, so carnivore diet, and stuff that we can pick and pick berries and pick roots and pick anything off the ground, right? So slightly, so we're going to have some carbohydrate, but coming from very natural forms. But we're very much meat oriented. I mean, as far as humans, and that's what we're designed to eat like. And so it's a lot of people don't like that, especially from California, where I'm from.
Yeah.
But it's the truth. It is like that's what our bodies are designed to do, and to process food in that way. And the other side of it is this is just decrease significantly. It's the other side of it, and it's just so much less food that should be putting in our body than what we are currently right now.
Yeah. I'll make myself sound old, but when we were a kid, my mother would get 1 pound of hamburger and feed the six of us.
Yeah,
I mean, she'd make
absolutely.
little tiny burgers like that.
Yeah,
And then we'd
yeah,
have, mashed potatoes and a green and, a couple of pieces of bread, and that was our dinner.
yeah.
Today, a burger can be that whole pound.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, or
If you go
more.
to a restaurant, go, oh, we'll give you a 16-ounce burger. I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
want a 16-ounce burger.
yeah, exactly. With a
Quantity is
brioche
everything to
bun
me.
and bacon.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. The brioche bun, bacon, and onion rings and cheese and the whole
Yep,
bit. So,
absolutely.
so we should eat less. It's okay to
Yes.
eat meat, but just eat less of it.
Yeah,
Try to
I
eat
mean, there's a based on your body type is how much you should be eating. I mean,
right.
there's equations for that, and you got to figure out, what is right for you. And but yeah, way less typically is going to be the thing that just less calories in general is what it boils
Yeah.
down to, and going longer without it. Going having spans of time without food at all. That's where you get your body to shift from burning carbohydrates to burning fat as an energy source. And that's really what we need to get to that fat burning zone and maintain it for a period of time before we switch out and eat something else to be able to break that. And so, yeah, it's some when you start to fast and you put fasting into your lifestyle, the amount of food you eat decreases significantly
Mhm.
automatically, right? Because you're just not you're if you set yourself up on an intermittent fast, let's say, you give yourself a 5 hour, 6 hour, 4 hour window of eating. Well, that means you have like up to 20 hours of not eating, right?
Yeah,
And so that's where it comes in is that you're putting your food in when in increments, right? And
right.
then having longer periods of time between those feedings.
Let's talk about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What would be a healthy breakfast? What would be a healthy lunch? What would be a healthy dinner?
Well, I'll tell you, the healthiest breakfast in my mind is not breakfast. I don't eat
Okay,
breakfast.
skip
I
it.
barely eat lunch. I don't like eating until the later in the day. I like to make sure I get my workout before I work out. I mean before I eat because I just I feel sluggish if I
Mhm.
eat before working out. And so I want to make sure so around 2, 3, 4 somewhere, and that's when I'm going to break my fast, right? And then I'll have a 4 hour, 5 hour window of eating, and then I won't eat until the next day. Same thing go around. One of the things is also really important is to keep our bodies guessing, and so shifting our time zones, our eating windows is going to be a really important thing too. It's not having the same regimented every day. I start my fast here and end my fast here. It's shifting it around, changing it up a bit, and so that
Mhm.
might mean go like one of my favorites now. Is Dr. Mindy gave me this one. It's a 36-12. So 36 hours no eating, 12 hours of eating. 36-12. Just keep doing that and then shifting it around a little bit. I'm really enjoying that one right now. So
Yeah.
it's just and playing with it. Find out what works for you. Maybe it's every other day eating. There's so many different ways of being able to put the fast into your diet, and you'll just feel the results of it really, really quickly because when you don't eat, everything starts to after you get through the phases, and that's part of what my
Right.
book's about. Is you got to get through the phases. You got to get your brain, a new channel of energy, right? And because we're all programmed right now. Most everybody are programmed to live off of sugar, really
Right.
carbohydrate, right? And the brain is living off sugar. Our bodies are living off sugar, and so we got to reprogram our system to be able to get it so that we can actually access that body fat as an energy source, turn the ketones into energy, for our brain. And it's a process, right? You got to get
Yeah.
through that process. But once you do it, then that new channel's been opened up, that new freeway's been laid down, and
Mhm.
now we can go on it over and over again and not have the issues that we have to go through the first few times going
Yeah.
through it.
Let's give the folks at home an overview of your book. What will they find inside?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that I points that I definitely I realized were very important that needed to be done. And one of them, I look at this is there's a lot of books out there right now on like the science of fasting, right? And I
Mhm.
think that's great. I love them. I think they're fantastic. There's a lot of people out there who are very much experts in the science of it. I wanted to make something that for people who realize the fasting is great. I put enough science in there to make it, a compelling thing to do. But I also wanted to make it something that is like it's a psychology, it's the mindset of going through it, right? There's nothing out there that was like, this is what you're going to feel like when you go through it. This is
Mhm.
what it's going to be like. And I wanted to create something where it's the psychology of the fasting process. What is it? What are the phases that you're going to go through? How are you going to feel in each one of those phases? The other concept that I really landed on was, fat is time, not weight, right?
Mhm.
And that was something that I just realized. It was like, okay, when I was in the middle of one of my fasts, I was like, I haven't eaten for 3 days, and I'm like, I realized that I'm carrying my time with me around on my body, and most people carry a month or so on their if they some people are months or years carrying around on their body that they can live off of, right?
Right.
And so it's time we're carrying this around. Before there were scales, we people relied on it when it was necessary for us to be able to keep living because there wasn't food all the time, right?
Right.
And so food is the fat that's on our body is time. It's time for us to live in between meals. And what we need to do is to shift our perspective on what that is and not have to have food all the time, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about autophagy, and how autophagy is one of the most, it's like, it's one of the most amazing mechanics of our body that people don't even know about. It's one of the, it's healing. It's how to heal your body naturally, right? And the reason for that, autophagy is basically the super healing that happens when we no longer have to require the digestion process, right?
Mhm.
Digestion is one of the most one of the most expensive things that our body does. And so when we don't have that, now our body has energy to be able to do other things. And what it does is it switches over to this autophagy where it allows us to be able to start healing things, like just
Mhm.
amazing stories that come from that. So I want to make sure that that's out there because that is, no matter what it is. I mean, the issues. I mean, when you get sick, we naturally decide not to eat. Our bodies say,
Right.
"Don't eat,"
Don't
right?
have an appetite. Yeah.
Right? We lose our appetite. Why is that? Well, because that's where the healing is. That's where we heal our bodies. And so I want to get that out there, make sure that people know that you can heal yourself. It takes time, it takes effort, but you can heal yourself. Yet there's
Mm.
so many different studies now and results are coming from that. And it's just getting started. We're
Yeah.
coming back to it, right? And then the last thing is like you already said it. I want to make sure that people know this is not a fad. This is the oldest way of eating there has ever
Yeah.
been.
Exactly.
Right? There's no fad about this. This is and it's what's amazing is how many like religions keep doing this, and it's the psychological, the spiritual aspects, the physical, the mental. Oh my gosh, the mental aspect of it, taking control of our decisions. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about being in control and reestablishing our relationship with food. That's so needed in today's society because people don't have control. They see
Yeah.
something, they eat it. They see something, they eat it. To be able to get to that point where you can say it's off the table. Food is off the table. I'm not eating right now. I'm not in my window. Whatever that might be. But
Hmm.
that's taking back control of our emotions and our emotional eating that goes along with it. And I believe fasting is one of the keys to be able to make that happen. To be able to take back our control over the relationship with food. So those are the things
Wonderful.
that I really wanted to make sure I got out to the world, and I was helping people go through I started fasting on my own, and I started talking about it a lot. And people go, "Oh, I want to try that." So I started helping people go through the fasting process, and I started seeing these things over and over and over and over again. And I got to the point where I was like, people need to know more about this. There's got to be
Yeah.
something out there to be able to help people walk through these things and be able to get some of these results that we're talking about.
Wonderful. Now there is the name of the book, Your Fat, Stop Eating, The Power of Fasting and a New Way to Think About Body Fat. In the book, the author exposes the myths that have kept us stuck and reveals a simple, science-backed approach to reclaiming control over our bodies. If you're ready to break free from fad diets and discover the key to lasting transformation, this is a book you won't want to miss. Amen. Thank you so much for joining us here today on
Thank you,
Spotlight.
Logan.
Appreciate your time, sir. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.